Today, we're digging deep into the engine bay to explore one of the most fundamental design choices in automotive engineering, the layout of your cylinders. Inline, flat, V. These aren't just configurations, okay? They're philosophical debates turned mechanical. Each layout has its own strengths, its own quirks, and its own cult followings. And whether it's the Subaru Rumble, or the snarling bark of a Ferrari V12. The shape of the engine says a lot about the car's soul. So, let's crank this one to redline. This is your morning pit stop with Mechanica Veritas. Let's quickly cover what these configurations are, okay? Internal combustion engines work by lining up cylinders, and the way those cylinders are arranged determines not only the size and shape of the engine, but also its smoothness and its character.
I am an excellent judge of character.
In an inline engine, all of the cylinders are in a single row, standing tall like soldiers on parade. In a V engine, the cylinders are split into two banks at an angle, usually 60, 72, or 90 degrees, creating a V shape when viewed from the front. And then there's the flat engine, also called a boxer, where the cylinders lie flat in two opposing banks that move horizontally toward and away from each other like two boxers throwing punches. Each of these layouts has been used in everything from economy cars to race cars, and each brings its own set of trade-offs. Let's break them down. Inline engines are honestly the simplest and most common. If you've ever driven a four-cylinder car in the last, 40 years, chances are it had an inline layout. Inline fours power everything, from base model Corollas to fire-breathing Honda Type Rs. But in recent years, the inline-six has become the sweetheart of the performance world again, thanks in large part to BMW and more recently, Mercedes and Toyota. What makes inline engines special is their packaging and balance. Inline fours are compact, lightweight, and cheap to make. They're transverse in most front-wheel drive cars, which saves space and weight, and also frees up some room on the interior. Thanks to perfect primary and secondary balances, the inline-sixes, on the other hand, are buttery smooth. They produce minimal vibration, and the long crankshaft provides a wonderfully linear torque curve. Linear torque curve.
He was a retard.
What?
He was a retard.
Inline engines aren't without problems. Like everything, compromises have to be made. An inline-six is long. Like, really freaking long.
That's what she said.
Fitting one longitudinally in a modern car requires serious underhood real estate, which is why you rarely see them outside of basically rear-wheel drive platforms. Inline fours can be buzzy, especially when revved, and tend to lack the raw charisma of larger engine formats. They also don't generally produce the same low and mid-range torque numbers that the inline-six does. Still, there's a reason why automakers keep going back to the inline layout. It's reliable, scalable, and often surprisingly refined. And when you hear a BMW inline-six scream past 7,000 RPM, you start to understand why some engineers insist this is the engine layout that God himself would have used. The V engine is basically where things get spicy, okay? By splitting the cylinders into two banks, engineers can make more cylinders fit into a shorter engine block. It's a great compromise between space, power, and refinement. V6s are basically the world's middle child. Not as compact as an inline four, not as smooth as an inline-six, but, versatile and efficient and just exists. Front-wheel drive cars often use transverse-mounted V6s with clever engineering like offset crank pins to smooth out the imbalance that comes naturally with a 60 or a 90-degree V6. Rear-wheel
Oh, I don't think I'm a lot dumber than you thought that I thought I was once.
Rear drive platforms, however, they get the real benefit. Compact, torquey, and able to pack over 300 horsepower into a space small enough to keep the center of gravity low and the hood line tidy. Oh, and then there's the V. The V. Balanced, muscular, and surprisingly compact for its displacement. You can fit LS's in pretty much anything. Whether it's a classic American small block burbling through a set of Flowmasters, or a high-strung, flat-playing Ferrari V8, they're just the poster child for internal combustion engines. V engines also extend beyond 8s. V10s, V12s, and V16s exist and are glorious, but rare. Think Lexus LFA, or McLaren F1, the McLaren T50, or the new Bugatti. These are engineering flexes. Smooth, powerful. God, do they sound so good. But V engines come with complexity, okay? You need 2-cylinder heads, more camshafts, often more cooling. And with increasing pressure to downsize and turbocharge, V engines are starting to feel kind of like luxury items. Still, nothing says serious business under the hood like a proper V. Flat engines, or more precisely, horizontally opposed engines, are the oddballs of the internal combustion family.
You're weird. Nah, nope.
Only a handful of automakers use them consistently, namely Porsche and Subaru. No, I'm not including Toyota in this because that's a Subaru and a Toyota body. Don't worry about that. These engines are wide and low, with cylinders split into 2 banks that lie flat, reducing height and lowering the car's center of gravity. Now, before we go any further, okay, let's clear something up. The terms flat and boxer, they're often used interchangeably, but they're not always the same thing. A flat engine simply refers to the horizontal arrangement of the cylinder banks, but a boxer engine is a specific type of flat engine where the opposing pistons move in and out simultaneously in opposite directions, like 2 boxers throwing punches at the same time. That synchronized counter-punching motion helps naturally cancel out vibration, leading to a smoother running engine. So just to clarify, a boxer engine is a flat engine, but not all flat engines are boxer engines. Okay. Some older or exotic flat engines, like the flat 12s in vintage Ferraris, used a shared crank pin arrangement, meaning the pistons on opposite sides don't move directly opposite each other. Technically, these are flat engines, but not boxers. In contrast, all of Subaru's engines and Porsche's modern flat 4s and flat 6s are true boxer designs. So what's the benefit? Well, first and foremost, balance. Boxer engines are some of the smoothest running piston engines out there. Their opposing piston motion creates near perfect mechanical harmony. Add in the naturally low center of gravity, and you've got an engine layout that's just a dream for handling. That's why Porsche, which is absolutely obsessed with weight distribution and chassis dynamics, has stuck with the boxer layout in the 911 for over 50 years. Subaru too leans on the layout of performance-oriented models, like the WRX and the BRZ, giving those cars a distinct driving feel and, of course, a very distinctive sound. That famous Subaru rumble comes from the use of unequal length headers, not the boxer layout itself. But the wide engine does make packaging those headers, well, kind of a pain in the. So if there's so many pros to this motor and it's sounding like the magical thing, why aren't they in everything? Well, there's some issues, just like everything else. Maintenance is tricky. Want to change the spark plugs in the Subaru? Well, I hope you have tiny hands, lots of time, and patience. Or just be prepared to partially drop the engine. They're also wide, like freaking wide, which complicates engine bay packaging, especially in a front-wheel drive or hybrid layouts. And turbos? Mounting them gets tight in a hurry. Still, for purists, nothing replaces the character of a boxer. They feel different, they sound different, they just are different. If an inline-six is a violin, okay, and a V8 is a Marshall stack, a boxer engine is an old jazz record. Low, groovy, just a little unpredictable. So with all these layouts, which one is the best? Well, that depends on engineering factors. It depends on your own personal taste, what you're using the car for, what you can afford. I mean, there's a number of things. There is no one right answer. If you're looking for simplicity, affordability, and efficiency, well then the inline-4 all day long, okay? It's your daily driver's best friend. It's what powers most of the cars on the road today. And that's for a reason. For smoothness and refinement, especially if you're shopping German, there's no other choice other than the inline-6. It is a masterclass in elegance, smoothness, and performance. If you want punch, power, and that burly sound, the V8 is still it. It's the king of the muscle car world and a staple in everything from Corvettes to Range Rovers. And then you got the V6. It's still kind of the middle ground, you know, still the middle child of the engine world, especially in trucks and performance sedans. But they often exist for basically packaging convenience more than soul or sound or enjoyment. They just exist. What about the flat engine? They're niche, but they're magic when done right. They reward you with razor sharp balance, a unique character, and a fantastic sound. If you don't mind the maintenance, there's something deeply satisfying about driving a car with a boxer engine, especially when the corners come fast and tight. So ultimately, choosing the cylinder layout is kind of like choosing a favorite genre of music. They'll all get you from A to B, but how you feel along the way and what you hear while getting there, well, that can make all the difference. So, the next time that you pop your hood,
Hey, pop the hood.
Pop the hood?
Pop the hood.
or better yet, feel the way your car responds when you hit the gas, think about what's going on beneath the surface, okay? The shape of the engine isn't just an engineering decision or design. It's a personality choice. Inline, V, or flat. They each have a story, a feel, a history, and a voice. Thanks for hanging out with me for another deep dive into the oily, glorious guts of automotive design. If you liked this breakdown, smash that like button, drop a comment telling me which engine layout makes your heart race, and hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. This has been your morning pit stop with Mechanica Veritas.